Hi and welcome to the channel. My name is Tony and today I'm excited to install PopOS version 2104 on a Synology NAS running DSM7 using the Virtual Machine Manager. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell so that you're alerted to when I release new content. So I'm excited to get started with Synology's Virtual Machine Manager. I didn't have that option with my DS216 Plus 2 because it didn't support virtual machines. However, the DS920 Plus does, and again, I want to thank Synology for sending me this unit. Now, there's been a lot of talk about PopOS, so since I want to get a virtual machine installed, what better operating system to explore than the latest PopOS, which is version 2104 with the Cosmic Desktop. I've heard a lot of people talking about it, and I figured I'd check it out and install it as my first VM. So that said, I'm on the PopOS website, which is pop.system76.com, and I'll put the link down in the video description if you want to check it out. On their website, you have a welcome message and then a download button. So we're going to click on the download button, and another window pops up, and there are several flavors of PopOS to download. You can download the 2004 LTS, or you can go with the latest PopOS 2104, and there are two flavors of that. One for a regular installation and one if you have an NVIDIA card. So you choose which one works best for you. I would go with the download 2104 for my installation. In fact, I've already downloaded it as I went through this as a practice run before making this video. So once you click on the download link, it'll download to your local computer's hard drive. So that's the first step. So let's switch over to the Virtual Machine Manager. Okay, inside Virtual Machine Manager, you can see right here in the center, I don't have any virtual machines set up. Remember, you had to download that ISO file. So the first thing to do once you're in VMM, inside the Synology VMM, is to come over to the Image tab and make sure that you add that ISO image to the Virtual Machine Manager. And you can see right here, I have PopOS 2104 added to Virtual Machine Manager. Now, to add the file, it's pretty simple. If it's not here, you would just come up to the Add button and then just navigate from your computer, get it from the location where you saved it, and then follow the wizard so it just uploads it to the DSM. Since we already have it added to the image folder, we're not going to do that step. So let's go back up to the Virtual Machine tab, and we're going to click on Create. And now the window pops up, and you have the different types of operating systems. So we're going to go with Linux, since PopOS is built on top of Ubuntu. And we're going to say Next. And we're going to just select the only storage that we have. So we're going to go ahead and say Next. I'm just going to give this a name, and I'm going to call it PopOS V21. I'm going to give it 3 cores because I tried it with 2 cores earlier in the week and it was just kind of clunky. So we'll go with 3 cores for the demo. And I'm just going to give it 2 gigs of memory, which is the suggested minimum requirement. And we'll go ahead and we'll say Next. And I believe the requirement was 20 gigs. So we'll go ahead and we'll just give it 25 just to play it safe. And we'll say Next. We'll leave it set as the default network and click on Next. And we have to select the ISO file. So we're going to come here, hit the drop down menu, and we're going to select PopOS 2104. We're going to leave it as the recommended legacy BIOS. We're going to leave the keyboard layout as default. And then I'm going to leave the virtual USB controller as disabled. But if you enable that, then it'll allow you to use USB drives plugged into your Synology. But we're going to leave that disabled for now and then go ahead and click on Next. Then it's asking for to give the users permission. So we're going to go ahead and I'll select my user and allow my user access and say Next. And then it's just summarizing. So just check everything over. You have the option of powering on the virtual machine after creation. So, yep, let's go ahead and do that. We'll select that, but you don't have to. That's your choice. And we'll go ahead and we'll click on Done. And now you can see it's creating the PopOS virtual machine. It's powered off, but now it's preparing it, and it should be powering it on, and you can see now the status is running. So let's get connected and go ahead and continue with the installation process. So we'll come up and we'll click on connect. And you can see it's doing its thing. Okay, so we are at the desktop, and now we're going to go through the installer. I'm just going to change the resolution so I can see everything I need to see. So let's just go into the settings. We're just going to come down to displays. If you're getting any value from this video, please smash that like button. It lets the algorithm know you like what we're doing here on the channel. Now, back to the video. Okay, and under the resolution, I'm just going to make it so everything shows in the window so we can continue with the installation process. So let's apply, and we'll keep the changes. And now we'll go back to the installation launcher. There we go. So now we can see the select button down here. So it's asking us to select the language. You could select whatever language is best for you. For me, English works. So we're going to go ahead and click on select. Then it asks us to pick our region. We're going to say United States. English US for the keyboard layout. And I'm just going to leave it set to default and say select. And then here it's asking us if we want to do a clean install, where it erases everything and installs a fresh copy of PopOS, or if we want to do a custom advanced installation. So we're just going to go ahead and go with the clean install. So we'll select that and we'll say clean install here at the bottom. And now it's asking us to select the drive. So it's the 25 gig drive that we created during the creation of the virtual machine. And I'm going to say erase and install. And now it's asking me to create a user account. So I'm just going to give it my name, Tony. The username Tony is fine. We're going to go ahead and we're going to say next. And I'm going to create an account password. And we'll go ahead and we'll say next. And here it's asking us if we want to encrypt the drive. Encrypt this drive protects the data from being read by others with physical access to the device. Drive encryption may minimally impact read and write speed when performing intense tasks. So typically I would encrypt this, but for the purpose of this video, just for time's sake, I'm going to not do the encryption. I'm going to say don't encrypt and let it install. Now, this is going to take roughly about 5 minutes, so we will come back once the installation has completed and we'll take a quick tour of the PopOS desktop. Okay, so the installation of PopOS has completed. At the end of the installation, it gave me the option to restart or shut down. I opted to restart, and it loaded up this page here where it's asking me to sign into the user account that we created during the installation process. Now, the overall installation did take just about 8 minutes. I did time it. So anyway, I thought just a little tidbit of information you'd like to know. So let's go ahead and get signed in and take a little tour of PopOS. I know if you're a longtime Mac user like I am, you're really going to appreciate this OS, and I think you'll get really accustomed to using it very easily. So let's go ahead, let's get signed in. Okay, so we're presented with the welcome screen. So we'll go up and we'll click on next. And here, select your keyboard or layout as an input method. So we've already done that in the installation process. I guess here it's giving you the option to change it if maybe you selected it wrong during the installation process or whatever. I'm not sure, but anyway, we're going to leave it set to English US and click on next. Welcome to PopOS, and it's asking us what we want to do with the dock. If we want not to show the dock, leave it to extend to the edges of the desktop, or so it doesn't extend to the edges. That's my preference, so I'm going to have it so it's just in the center. And we're going to go ahead and click on next. And then here it's just giving us a couple of options to configure the top bar, whether or not we want to show the workspaces or the applications, and where we want to position the date and time. So I'm going to leave all that on for right now. We can configure that later if we want in the settings. We'll go ahead and we'll click on next. Here, it's just telling us that the open and switch applications from launcher option is enabled, and that's fine. We're going to go ahead and we're going to click on next. Here it's talking about gestures for navigation. So all four to the left, all four to the right, all four up, all four down. So that's pretty easy navigation. So we'll go ahead and we'll click on next. Here it's asking us to turn on location services. I'm going to leave that off. That's your choice, what you want to do. And it looks like we have an update available for the system. So we'll look into that in a little bit. Next, we're going to go ahead and we'll set a time zone. That's one thing that the installation process did not ask us to do. So we'll do that here. I'm just going to put in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we'll go ahead and we'll say next. It's giving us the option now to connect to our online accounts. I'm going to skip that for now. And it says all done. PopOS is ready to be used. We hope that you love it. And so far, the little bit that I've played with it this week, I absolutely do love it, especially once you get into customizing the desktop a little bit. I made it look very similar to my Mac OS X desktop, and I'm really loving it so far. So let's go ahead and get started using PopOS. And one of the first things I want to do is come down to the settings, and I want to change the screen resolution. So let's do that, and we'll come down to displays. We'll set the resolution. We'll change it from 800 by 600 to 1920 by 1080 and say apply. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep these changes. And now just so you can see things a little better, let me switch views. There we go. All right, so let's go back up to the top of the settings menu. I want to show you, I'm going to click on network, and I want to show you just one thing here because it's something that we're going to need later on. Under network, where it says wired connected, you can see that it's enabled. If you click the little settings cog, here you can see the IP4 address 192.168.50.197. We are going to need that a little bit later because I'm also going to show you how to connect to this virtual machine remotely using VNC Remote Desktop. So under network is where you'll find the IP address. Let's click on desktop. Here under desktop, you could set your super key action. So it's currently set for launcher, and we'll leave it for that, but you could set it to launch workstations or applications. Now on the Mac keyboard, the super key is the Apple or the command key. You also have the ability to enable top left hot corner works for workspaces. Right now it's currently disabled. Across the top bar, that's up across here, you have the ability to enable or disable the workspaces button or the applications button. So we can turn both of those off. And you'll notice up in the upper left-hand corner now, workspaces and applications did disappear from this area here. Then the date and time, we can actually center that, move it to the left or move it to the right. I'm going to move it to the right because that's what I'm accustomed to. And then as far as window controls, you can show the minimize button, which is already enabled, and show the maximize button. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click to enable that, and you can see up here the maximize button now has been enabled. Now you can also minimize and maximize just by double clicking the bar at the top. So some of you might opt to disable this feature here, but that's just personal preference. Let's move over to the left side and let's go to the dock for a second. If you're getting any value from this video, please smash that like button. It lets the algorithm know you like what we're doing here on the channel. Now, back to the video. Now, interesting with the dock, you have a lot of settings here with the dock. First off, you can enable it or disable it. Now, I'm going to come down to dock visibility for a second. On my Mac, I always choose to hide the dock, which means the dock will go away unless you hover the mouse in the area, and then it will be revealed. For some reason, on this version of PopOS, I've tried that and it just isn't working. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So I'm going to leave it set. Actually, let me put it back to visible for a second. And then we're going to come down to dock size. We'll come back to the visibility in a second. we're going to come down to dock size, and I'm going to change the dock from medium to small, and you can see the dock changed here on the bottom. And you could also set a custom size if small is not small enough for you, but I'm going to leave it set to small. And then the position, it allows you to position it at the bottom of the screen, along the left or along the right. So I'm going to move it along the left because I'm used to that also on my Mac. I've just got accustomed to that over the years. And you can see that it's here along the left side. Now I'm going to go back up to visibility, and I'm going to hide it for now. You can see that it disappears. Now, when we come back to a full desktop, I'm going to show you that when I hover over that left area to reveal the dock, it just doesn't seem to be working. I could not get that to happen. So hopefully that's just a bug and it'll be fixed in the next revision. All right, let's go up before we click out of desktop. Let's go up to background, and you can see PopOS comes loaded with a couple of nice default background choices. So you have this one here, which I like very much. And then there's another one down here that reminds me very much of Mac OS X as well. So I'm going to leave it set to this one here. Let's go back to the main menu. The next thing I want to show you is under sharing, we're going to turn on remote access or sharing. So let's click on sharing. Along the top here, follow my mouse. We're going to enable the sharing button. It's telling us that the computer name is PopOS, Pop-OS. Here we have screen sharing. It's currently off, so let's click on this. We're going to enable screen sharing. We're going to allow connections to control the screen. We're going to do it by requiring a password. I'm just going to put a simple password in here for now. Make sure if you're doing this in production that you put a strong password in, and then we're going to go ahead and close this. Now that we've set up sharing, we can go in and we can look through a lot of the other settings. There are so many here to choose from, and you can just spend some time going through this on your own and playing with it. So let's go back and take a look at the overall desktop now. Let's click out of the settings, and there we go. So as you can see here, we have our new desktop pattern. We have our date and time up at the top. Here you can power off the machine. You have your volume control. I believe this is your network. You can get into your network settings and your overall settings. And then here you can tile your windows. You have your shortcut launchers. You can show window tiles, show active hint color. Okay, so you have a couple of commands up here. Again, we disabled the workspaces and the applications here. Notice I don't have the dock, as I was telling you before. So if you remember, I moved it to the left side, and technically, if I hover my mouse over the left side, you can see I am trying to hover the mouse to reveal the dock, actually hover the pointer, and it's not working. So again, hopefully that's just a glitch that'll be resolved in the next version. So let's just go back up to the drop down here, and let's go to settings. And let's just go back into the desktop, and let's go back into dock. And for now, let's just keep the dock always visible, so it's accessible. And there you go. Okay, so what do we have in the dock? We have our launcher, which allows us to search for apps or other options. We can show our workspaces. We can show our applications, which you see here. It comes loaded with Firefox. Oh, and by the way, one of the reasons why I turned off applications and workspaces up here is because they're right here in the dock. But again, that's a personal preference. Here's your file system. And again, it looks very much like the macOS home folder. At least it does to me. Here we go under settings. We showed you that before. Let's take a look and see what our updates are. Okay, so we clicked on install, and it's showing an operating system update, 13 components with updates, Open VM tools, desktop, So we'll go ahead and we'll run the 13 components with updates, 2.7 meg. We'll run update all, and then we will come back and see. Maybe that fixed the dock issue. We'll find out. I'll be right back after these updates are run. Okay, so just a quick note. The updates are done. It didn't take long. It took about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I restarted the machine and I'm back in, signed into the desktop. Now, a couple of things that I noticed. It did retain the desktop pattern that I had saved. It did retain the location of the dock. It did retain the settings to the upper bar here with the date in the right hand corner and disabling the workspaces and the applications. But one thing it did not disable, and I did this off camera just to get us back to where we were when we left off, was it did not maintain the resolution settings for the display. So I thought that was interesting. I was also hoping that maybe the updates fixed the issue with the dock, but as you can see, I have the dock visible. I did test it out. In fact, let me show you real quick, and then we'll just get on to connecting via remote access. So let's go into the settings. We'll come over to dock. We're going to say always hide. We're going to close this window. And now when I hover over this area here, the dock should appear. And it does not. So anyway, hopefully that will get resolved soon. Not a big deal. We will just leave it visible in the settings for now. But overall, I am really liking this interface. It reminds me so much of Mac OS X. I could see it's not going to be a problem getting used to using this Linux desktop. Enough said with that. Let's close out of here and let's bring up VNC. Just got to move it over. It's on another window. There we go. And the address, remember I showed you under network how to get the IP address. So the address is 192.168.50. I believe it was 197. Let's say open. Okay, it's asking us for the password that we created when we set up sharing. So let's sign in. And there you can see we have a VNC remote desktop access to our virtual machine. So there's a look at the installation process of PopOS inside of Synology's Virtual Machine Manager. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out some of my other videos that I have listed up above. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. And I want to thank you, as I do in every video, for using my Amazon affiliate links. I know they don't change your price, but they do help out the channel. My name is Tony with Quik Tech Solutions. As always, please stay safe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. And as always, I'd like to thank our Patreon supporters. And if you would like to help support the channel, there's links to the Patreon page and PayPal down in the video description.